Hi everyone, my name is Valerie. My creative project for my microbiology class is to talk about fermentation. Fermentation represents a microbial growth as it occurs on a suitable substrate. Now, what is a substrate? A substrate is a substance that enzymes act on. In the early microbiology days, when growth was found on food and was beginning to spoil because of this growth was called ferment, which is why we got the name fermentation, okay? From that microbial life breaking down or decomposing fruits and vegetables. A little bit of history about it. So it was first documented that Louis Pasteur was the first person to discover fermentation, and the way he did that was people were trying to figure out why wine and beer was spoiling or souring so fast. And what he came to find out is that when you leave these containers open, air comes in, that air contains microbes and thus turns the wine or beer into vinegar. And nobody wants to drink vinegar. So Native Americans were fermenting long before using maize and berries to create an alcoholic beverage called tiswin. Fermentation is beneficial in many ways. It's a way to have food security, improve nutrition. It provides employment to several people. It has medicinal purposes all over the world. For example, in Russia, there is a type of fermented milk or dairy product called kumis, and they use that in treatment of tuberculosis. In Mexico, they have this fermented fruit sap that they believe has medicinal properties as well. Also, a new up-and-coming trend is medicinal marijuana. Now, whether you are for it or against it, the people who actually grow the plants are starting to use fermented fruits and vegetables as a nutrient for their plant instead of using pesticides or chemicals, manufactured soils. They're trying to go an organic route to produce a better plant or a better medicine for those who use it. Fermentation is also used to add flavoring to food. For example, I have these pickles right here. Okay, so pickles are often served with sandwiches, and it's a way to enhance the flavor of your. Fermentation has many different benefits. Now, if you notice, I have coffee out here. You're probably wondering, why do I have coffee out here? Coffee is fermented, okay? And during the fermentation process, what they're trying to do is remove mucilage, which is a sticky, gluey, viscous substance that covers the seeds of the coffee bean. And it's used for food storage and water storage, as well as seed germination. But in order to make coffee, we need to remove that sticky substance, so they do that by way of fermentation. In addition to that, people who use compost, which is a natural way of giving nutrients to your garden or plants, and also makes a better end product versus using chemicals. Coffee is added to a compost mixture to add nitrogen. Why would you want nitrogen in your compost mixture? It's very simple. Plants need nitrogen for photosynthesis.
All right, today we're going to start the fermentation process. We got our mason jars here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got some fruit. Okay, we got our sugar to jumpstart the fermentation. I could use yeast, but I'd rather not. And we got our reverse osmosis water. Let's get it cracking. Thank you. Okay, we need water in here. This is a family enterprise, as you can see. Very proud of our young Einstein. All right, put the lid on, please.
He's also a young dude.
Yes. Other way. Good job.
Good job.
Good job. Thank you. Okay.
Hold on, look.
Miracle has to do it all by herself. All right, my little cutesy.
Now shake it a little
Shake it.
There, we help Mom.
All right. So now this is what we got. Very, very pretty. Very nice.
Alright, in my home, I use fermentation as a way to give nutrients to my vegetable garden, to my aloe vera plant. I don't want pesticides or chemicals as a means for feeding my plant. So one of the things that I do is I take fruits and vegetables that I have laid out here. As you see, I have some ginger and some oranges that were used to make a soup earlier. Most people would throw this away. I'm not going to. I'm going to put it into a mason jar, fill it with reverse osmosis water, okay? And the reason I'm using bottled water is because if you do a study on your tap water right here, now it's different for every region that you live in, but there's a lot of nasty chemicals in that water. The pH is all out of whack, and I'm looking for the purest substance to give my plants. All of these fruits and vegetables have vitamins and minerals, some higher, some lower, depending on which fruit that you're using. Sugar I use to jumpstart the fermentation process. Now, if I was going to make wine or beer, I would use yeast. But my goal is not to make wine or beer, to make alcohol. My goal is to get all of the nutrients from that fruit or vegetable so that I could use it later on. So I'm going to use sugar and not yeast. However, those who do want to make beer or wine, the type of yeast that they're using, the microbe is called Saccharomyces cerevisiae. I'm trying to pronounce it correctly. So that is the most common form of yeast to use. It's also known as baker's yeast or brewer's yeast. And what it does is it breaks down the sugar that's in flour, or when added to dough, it gives off CO2 and ethanol, which is what makes the dough rise. Now, Saccharomyces cerevisiae also enriches food, and it does that by producing thiamine, nicotinic acid, and biotin. Okay?